I'm going to be talking about superheroes, comic book superheroes, and how they relate to Christian iconography and the human qualities that are shared between the two of them. I'm going to try and make things appear around me during this video, so let's see how that works. Reason number 1, elevating the status of the graphic novel. Reason number 2, to add depth to characters in graphic novels. And reason number 3, to create a bond with the reader of the graphic novel by using something instantly recognisable and therefore making them relate to the characters more easily. I was inspired by this image. That's from the Sistine Chapel ceiling. It's by Michelangelo and it's the separation of light and darkness. As you can see, God has very big muscles there. He's also in quite a recognisable pose that I related to this one, the classic Superman image. But I found that talking about the human qualities in superheroes made it a lot easier to dissect the topic, and it also led me to talk specifically about Christian iconography, thereby focusing my work. So without further ado, how does it elevate the status of the graphic novel? I looked over here at Michelangelo's Pieta from 1499 and compared it to the cover of Batman: A Death in the Family from 1988. As you can see, the two images are very similar, particularly in pose, the arm hanging limp, the legs being cradled by the protective figure of Batman or Mary. I also noted Batman's cowl seemed to act as Mary's drapery in this case, further enforcing his role as the Mary or parental figure. Batman is a parent figure to Robin just as Mary is to Jesus. I argued that this makes it seem like the death of Robin is not just the death of a comic book character, but has huge connotations of grief, pain and loss. The reader is quite simply witnessing the death of Jesus, the innocent. But let's move on to point number 2. How do these links add to the depth of characters in graphic novels? This panel is taken from the Batman graphic novel Arkham Asylum, A Serious House on a Serious Earth. Just to give you some context, the manic villain has just labelled Batman a demonic creature with power over the souls of the demented. Batman, defeated, replies, I'm just a man. So what's religious about this image? Well, just to the right of Batman's bowed head is a picture of Jesus, and underneath is written twice the words Ecce Homo. Some of you will remember Ecce Homo from one of the worst attempts at art historical conservation, but I included Titian's Ecce Homo from 1547. As you can see, it's really very similar. The facial hair on Jesus, the way the head is bowed, but I argued that this pose is also mirrored in Batman himself. As you can see, there's a large amount of chiaroscuro, contrast between light and dark. And this brings out the dualist theory that runs throughout the graphic novel. The way the words Ecce Homo are written not once but twice under the image, once scrawled and once in neat italics, adds to the idea of echoed shapes and mirrored images. I argued that this opens a window into Batman's psychology. His enemies see him as this demon with superpowers, whilst people he saves see him as this angelic saviour figure. But we, the readers, who know the character intimately by now, and Batman himself, know that he's nothing more than a man in a costume. In a graphic novel there are no long paragraphs of text, and far less dialogue than in a conventional novel, so space is at a premium. By using this link, Dave McKean has added to Batman's psychology and allowed us, the readers, to gain a better understanding of his character, a deeper, more complex character. This also serves to raise the status of the graphic novel. Instead of having two-dimensional superheroes, we actually see complex human figures emerging. Richard Reynolds said that Arkham Asylum certainly succeeds as much as any graphic novel of its era in justifying claims to be considered art. Finally, moving on to point number 3, relating to the audience. Here I was very lucky to come across a quote that I found hugely useful. In it, a man is described as never having enough money, beset by personal problems, and the world doesn't applaud his deeds. In fact, most people tend to suspect and distrust him. In short, he's a lot like you and me. Now, I, like you, probably thought of Jesus at that point, but it's not about Jesus, it's actually about your friendly neighbourhood Spider-Man, and it's written by his creator, Stan Lee, when explaining his success. Spider-Man in 1963 was unlike other superheroes. You had Superman, who had huge amounts of strength, but Spider-Man was different. He was a high schooler, like most of the readers. He wasn't even a popular high schooler, he got bullied all the time. And that led me to make a comparison between The Amazing Spider-Man #1 and Giotto's Crucifixion from 1305. As you can see, the two poses here are very similar, but it wasn't actually this that caught my attention. It was a comparison with another famous piece of art, Leonardo da Vinci's Vitruvian Man. The idea that Spider-Man embodies the concepts of the High Renaissance really stood out to me. I ended up talking about the whole God-made-flesh idea, and even why Christianity proved so popular and still proves so popular now. I asked if the success of Spider-Man and the success of Christianity lay in the same fundamental building block. We relate to Peter Parker, we see ourselves in him, and this not only gives us hope that every poor carpenter, every bullied high schooler can rise above it all and become a hero, but it also makes the hero's message that much more relevant, because he, at the end, is one of us. He came from roots like us, and that makes us listen to him so much more. He is not just God, but God made flesh. Thanks for watching.